If you're moving to Coconut Grove from New York City, there are a few things that are going to hit you right in the face. And those things nobody ever tells you about until you land here. You're probably thinking walkable, vibrant, tropical city. What you really get is way more nature and a lot less structure than you ever thought about. I've worked with a ton of New Yorkers that have transplanted themselves down here to Coconut Grove, and it's only a matter of time before they tell me, wait a minute, what? What is that? What is going on? It's just interesting to see how they get into Coconut Grove and start to learn a lot of new things that nobody's ever told them about. In this video, we're going to talk about the 8 things that I find shock New Yorkers the most when they land here in Coconut Grove. And I'm not talking about the obvious either. I'm not talking palm trees and the weather. I'm talking about the little things that nobody warns you about. Some people, they love it right away, and some people, it takes a little time for them to get used to. But if you're moving here from New York or anywhere near the New York area, these are some serious pro tip insider moments you should be on the lookout for. I'm Riley Smith, and I run the Riley Smith Group, which is located right here in the heart of Coconut Grove. So if you're coming from up north and you really want the down low on what's happening in Coconut Grove, I'm the person to talk to. I have seen it all, been living here my entire life, watched this little city come into this fantastic tropical paradise. So now I'm going to give you all the insider tips. So one of the first things that people notice, and I mean notice right away, is that when you pull into Coconut Grove, you don't feel like you're in a city. You feel like you're driving through a tropical jungle. Quite often when I'm with New Yorkers and we're driving through the Grove for the first time, their reaction to our little community is, wow, I can't believe how green it is. We're this little pocket of green right in the heart of Miami, right up against Biscayne Bay. And since Coconut Grove has been one of the first cities here in Miami, we have a lot of mature trees. And I think the people of Coconut Grove take a lot of pride in letting their landscape just go crazy. So you get this sense of being in a tropical jungle as soon as you pull into our town. Obviously, for people coming from New York, the tree canopy and the overall feel of Coconut Grove is so drastically different than New York City, where if you walk those streets, you can go blocks or miles without seeing any mature oak trees or any of the tropical foliage that we all have here. Grove feels different from the rest of Miami because the trees have been here for so long. They're so mature, they're so big, and they're so vibrant. And then I also think the community of Coconut Grove, unlike Coral Gables, is a little bit more live and let live. And they take that approach to their landscaping. So we tend to throw more landscaping on our properties than people can see. We don't have the same rules, so it's not manicured. We leave it wild. And that just gives us a sense of being in a completely different part of Miami. Probably the number 2 thing I talk to people about from New York is they tell me, Riley, we walk everywhere we're in New York City. And yes, Coconut Grove is walkable, but it is not walkable like New York City. When we talk walkability, the first thing that people say is, wait, where are the sidewalks, right? Because they're used to walking on sidewalks in New York City or in the suburbs. Here in Coconut Grove, you're lucky if you have a sidewalk that goes more than 100 feet. We don't have great sidewalks. We generally walk in the street, or if you happen to be lucky enough to live near the Commodore Trail, that's where you're going to spend a lot of your time. Coconut Grove, you have to remember, was literally built when they were horse and buggy carriages back in the day. So they weren't building sidewalks. They weren't so worried about walking and not getting run over by cars. So they just built the roads and forgot all about the sidewalks. Now that does add to some of the charm, but it does sometimes make it a little dangerous for the kids and the bikes and the cars all playing together. The walkability does change how people live day to day. There is a very small pocket of properties that you can own that you can walk into the center of town. After that, you start to get a little farther out. You're going to have to get on one of those electric scooters, get a golf cart, or find a different way to get yourself into Center Grove. Whenever I speak to a buyer from New York, walkability is neither 1, 2, or 3. But I think you quickly realize not everybody can have walkability here, but there are a lot of other ways to get around. So I don't think it becomes as important to everybody as they think it will be when they first reach out to us. So this one sounds pretty small, but it catches everyone off guard right away. That first moment when you pull out of your driveway and there's a male peacock, feathers spread, standing right in front of you, absolutely takes your breath away. So as soon as you settle into Coconut Grove, one of the things you're going to learn real quickly is that we have a lot of peacocks. And when I say a lot of peacocks, I mean a lot of peacocks. This was not always the case. I was born here in 1968 and grew up in Miami, and specifically right here in Coconut Grove. We didn't have peacocks anywhere near us. I don't think I ever saw a peacock outside of the zoo until 1990s when Hurricane Andrew came. Hurricane Andrew destroyed the Metro Zoo and their habitat. And from there, the peacocks flew, spread out all over Miami. But for some reason, they really congregated right here in Coconut Grove. And now they're basically our city's natural pet. I don't know. But I don't care who you are. The first time you see a full male peacock walking around with a feather spread, it is jaw-dropping, takes your breath away. And the first time you see it, or you're there with your kids and you see it, every time I can tell right away when I see them stop the car, get out of the car, they're taking pictures, they can't believe it. But after a little while, they do become part of the landscape. The wildlife that nobody tells you about before you get down here, of course, are our iguanas. And they are everywhere, and they can scare the hell out of New Yorkers. And New Yorkers don't usually scare easily, but these things are like rats on steroids. They are all over over Coconut Grove right now, especially up and down the waterfront. But the funny thing about the iguanas is they don't bite, they don't like people, they'll always run away, but they look prehistoric. If you're thinking about wildlife and talking about funny, memorable stories here in Coconut Grove, you cannot walk down the street in the winter without seeing dozens and dozens of iguanas laying on the ground. And you gotta, what in the world is going on? But when it gets too cold down here, their body temperature drops so low, they cannot hold on to the trees, and they quite literally fall out of the sky all over Coconut Grove. And once the sun comes back out, they warm back up, they get up and they run away. But those early morning walks with iguanas laying everywhere, that is quite a spectacle. But being honest, the biggest adjustment and difference that everybody has when they get here right away is absolutely taking in the Coconut Grove lifestyle. I don't think you could get any farther away from the pace of life in New York than you can here in Coconut Grove. Coconut Grove is flip-flops and sandals and shorts, roll up your sleeves and stroll down the streets and take it all in. We try not to go anywhere in a hurry. It's a very small little town. Everybody seems to just be moving at their own speed. We don't have that hustle and bustle on our streets that you would have in New York. At first, I think our New York clients, they really struggle with this, almost more than anything else. They are always wired to get up and go, go, go. You know, you have your stores and your shops and everything is all within walking distance, and they're going 100 miles an hour up and down the sidewalks and up and down the Commodore Trail. I know there's not a lot of sidewalks, but there are some in Center Grove. But I can notice the difference is here, everybody's saying hi, they're asking how they're doing. And I think the New Yorkers are all caught off guard by this casual conversation that is just the commonplace in our little Coconut Grove. And it takes them a little bit of time to adjust. But pretty soon, they're saying hi right back to you as you're walking up and down, as you get to know everybody in the Grove. It's one of the best parts of Coconut Grove is just being out there walking around and getting to see your neighbors. It's small enough and intimate enough where you're going to see them over and over again, and you're going to get to know them. And it's an amazing way to start getting integrated into our town. Coconut Grove all starts from our little village right in the middle and extends out. The entire community revolves around sort of the lifestyle that the village gives us, right? We have the very casual strolling up and down Commodore Trail where you can then pop off the Commodore Plaza and eat and shop and wander around. And the pace is just very easy and relaxed. We have mostly mom and pop shops. We don't have a lot of big boxes here. Everything just moves a little slower, but it's also a lot friendlier. I think that's something that New Yorkers take a little bit of getting used to. Once you get settled in here, there's something that slowly but surely starts to get at you. And that's that I have to get on the water. Slowly but surely, I'm seeing more and more New Yorkers who have never ridden a boat in their life, certainly never driven a boat in their life, trying to figure out how do I get on the water, whether it's go to the sailing club and learn how to sail, take advantage of some of our boat rentals, or even better yet, get involved in some of the yacht clubs up and down Bayshore Drive. But I am seeing more and more New Yorkers trying to figure out how do I get that water lifestyle integrated into my lifestyle. Boating is fundamental to living in Coconut Grove. And then you don't have to own a boat or even be on a boat. But the best parts of Coconut Grove is where you're looking at the water, whether you're overlooking Sailboat Bay, you're walking down behind Dinner Key. For God's sakes, the city of Miami City Hall sits on the water surrounded by boats. Everything about Coconut Grove screams boating. And I think the longer you're here, the more you want to find out what's all the excitement about and get involved. Most buyers coming to Coconut Grove have already got in their mind that they're going to need to get out on the water somehow, but they're not quite sure. But certainly once they get settled in and they've probably made some friends that have gotten them out on the water, that's when they really start trying to discover what kind of boat do I buy for the bay? Where do I go on the bay? Where do I keep my boat? What is this whole thing all about and how does it operate? One of the great parts about being in Coconut Grove is the water, although it's not a beachfront, is very accessible. There are a lot of different ways for you to get out on the water right here in the Grove. Again, I mentioned the sailing club. If you join the sailing club, and anybody can join the sailing club, you can get involved in their sailing program. That'll get you out there right away. We've got some charity organizations like Shake a Leg where you can get involved. Otherwise, you can rent, charter, borrow, buy, steal a boat and get out on the water all over Coconut Grove. And we have so much waterfront that it is almost everywhere you look. Slowly but surely, the boating life takes over for you on your weekends especially. Obviously, we're all hustling, bustling, and running fast pace here, even the local Miamians. But when the weekends come, I think unlike up north in New York, especially where they would all get out of town and we all know they love to head to the Hamptons and do that whole Hampton thing for the weekend. Down here, it's all about getting on your boat, getting over to Nixon Sandbar, getting out and having some fun on the water or finding a place to eat, or maybe just doing a cruise around. And if you're really lucky, taking a drive down to the Florida Keys or even popping over to the Bahamas. If you're moving here with a family, one thing that becomes obvious really quickly is our school situation. We have some of the best schools in the country right here in our tiny little Coconut Grove village. When choosing to grow with a family, the schools are probably 50% of your decision. I think it's that important. I think if you're coming down here and you've been in private schools in New York, then you certainly want to go to one of our private schools right here. Whether you're going to go to St. Stephen's or St. Hugh for elementary, or if you have a daughter, you're going to send her to Carrollton, or if you're going to come into Coconut Grove and get into probably Ransom High School or junior high. These are some of the top private schools in the country. And if you have a little one and you don't want to go the private route, well, right in the heart of Coconut Grove, my alma mater, Coconut Grove Elementary, has been continuously operating the longest of any school in the Miami-Dade school system. And you can't go wrong there. Biggest thing that surprises New Yorker about the school system here is how hard it is to get into some of these private schools. And it's not just academically challenging, but it is in numbers game. Ever since COVID, these schools have been inundated with requests to get in, and they have hundreds and hundreds of applications every year. So I think the challenge they have moving here is, can I get myself, or my kids, I should say, into one of these top schools? And what does that process look like? Believe me, it is a daunting process. I think New Yorkers probably have an advantage coming down here from other places in the country. It seems like to me, everybody moving here from New York is following somebody they already know. So I think they do have a head start in navigating our school landscape, which is tough and sometimes feels like you need a PhD to figure it out. But they already have usually some insider scoop information by some of their friends. We've got a long history of people moving here from New York. It's just obviously accelerated since COVID. School acceptance is one of the biggest things that happens here. Every March 1st, all the schools drop who's in and who's out. I've seen people buy here and not get in and go back home. I've seen other people put things under contract knowing that they're going to find out, and then they either cancel the contract or go forward if they get in. But there's also whether you're going to be moving a little bit more north, a little bit south, depending on which of the schools you get into. So I would say the school system down here, especially in Coconut Grove, plays a pivotal part in our real estate landscape. This is where expectations and reality kind of come together. People move down here to South Florida, I think, thinking they're going to get Florida pricing. But Coconut Grove, certainly since COVID, is no longer Florida pricing. And they are shocked sometimes on what it costs to get into Coconut Grove. And when we're talking about cost, it's not just the houses. When New Yorkers are starting to come down in Miami and start looking for property, I think one of the things that shocks them is our pricing. What they don't understand is that Coconut Grove is a tiny little village. Only 4,000 single family homes, only a couple good condo high-rise buildings that they might consider living in. So the spaces in the areas that they want to live in are very small, and the availability inventory is not very good. So that causes some serious pricing challenges for the New Yorkers coming down. I think what shocks them the most is when they get here, they realize how much things have gone up just in the last couple years. Pre-COVID to now, we've more than doubled our pricing, and I think that's what they can't understand is how things went up so fast. I think once they move here, there are some costs that are surprising and shocking. Certainly when you're buying a house, you find out right away you cannot believe the cost of insurance. Nowhere else in the country is it like down here because of the windstorm for hurricanes and all the insurance that we need. But I think insurance costs a big ticket item in your house. And of course, we do have a property tax, and not everybody's familiar with that. After those things, I think just the getting around, looking at parking particularly, is probably something we can't believe. In a lot of other parts of the city and parts of areas, you can park for free on the side of the road. That doesn't work here in Coconut Grove. It is expensive to park here, and we don't have enough parking available. If you're looking to replicate the lifestyle of New York City, you're going to probably have to change a little bit of how you think, right? Although Coconut Grove now is a different landscape than it was 5 years ago, our restaurants and shops and dining is not as robust, and it don't have the diversity that certainly you have at your fingertips in New York City. So you do have to branch out sometimes from Coconut Grove to get those specialty restaurants that maybe were right at your fingertips. But every day our Coconut Grove restaurant scene especially is getting better and better and better. For the most part, people adjust quickly to this, and I start to see the same people that I've just recently met over and over again walking around our little town, up and down the streets that are very familiar to all of us, and sitting in our little cafes, hanging out. So I think slowly but surely, they're getting the hang of this pretty quickly. One thing for sure is noticeable now is traffic. I don't think anybody moving here realizes what the traffic is like at certain times of day in our sleepy little town. And unfortunately, we owe most of this to the schools, but really getting through from anywhere south to downtown, you've got to come through Coconut Grove or drive in US 1 or go all the way around on one of the major highways. So there is a massive amount of people that move through Coconut Grove every day to get to work and every day to get home. And then on top of it, if you thought the roads were safe after 9 o'clock, forget about it. You still have school zones. We have miles of school zones, and they're all over the place. And our roads are not set up for it, and our schools are not set up for it. So if you're not careful, you'll find yourself stuck in a pickup line with no child at that school. I don't think there's any future where traffic gets better here. We're still building and building and developing. I think more and more people will be infilling in Coconut Grove. There's still a lot of room for some more buildings to come, which are going to bring more people. And there is no plan whatsoever for more roads. So unfortunately, I think the traffic is here to stay. When we talk about traffic, I don't know that it compares to New York traffic. We're talking very small stretches of road, and we're a little spoiled. I'm used to getting across across town in 5 minutes. So my version of traffic is if it takes me 15 minutes, I'm ready to pull my hair out. If you know New York traffic, it's nothing like that. You can be stuck what seems like hours, which is why everybody seems to rush down to the subway so often. So the good news is, once you're here and you become a local, there is a workaround and a back way to everything and everywhere. So it just takes a little bit of time to figure out how to navigate. But once you get off the main drags, there's certainly a lot of little shortcuts, pop-in ways. It'll tell you exactly how to do it. So you don't have to get stuck in that traffic if you know what you're doing and you lived here long enough. Those are some of the biggest things that seem to catch New Yorkers by surprise. But I think after they're here for a little while, they slowly acclimate pretty well. First thing you notice is it's quieter, it's greener, and it's definitely more laid back. And I think once everybody from New York gets here and they get settled down and they get that sort of New York itch out of their system, they really start to embrace our amazing quiet lifestyle. If you're thinking about making a move here, make sure you drop me a comment below or make sure you subscribe to this channel. I'm Riley Smith. Give me a call. I guarantee you I'll help you find the perfect place for you and your family. I'll see you on the next one.